I'm an actor and international model. And she looks at me all puzzled and she doesn't know whether I'm joking. And I was an accountant for 26 years. After 26 years, I'd had enough, left. Didn't really have any big plans. I got into DJing when I was 16. We were then ended up DJing in nightclubs in the West End. We created a scene that is now known as jazz fusion, jazz dance, Latin jazz. I've learned through Lee to take notes, take direction.
Yeah.
Whereas I see some other people struggle because they haven't had the same training. When we did it on stage at the Cockpit Theatre, the audience took a sharp intake of breath, like and right from the beginning, I was getting auditions for, Netflix, Amazon stuff, which was, to me, it was just amazing. With the shows, you do it twice, and what you see on TV is the second time, where the models are quite close together, so there's only about 2 or 3 meters between the models. But that's the second walk. Everybody's taller than me, everybody's skinnier than me. When I say everybody's taller than me, including the women, I never decided I wanted to be an actor.
I'm Andrei Rogozin, and this is Beyond Real Talk, a podcast where I invite real entertainment industry professionals and ask them real questions. What are they actually doing? How are they doing it? Why are they doing it? And how can you start doing the same thing? And my today's guest is a DJ, an actor, a model, a friend from Working Actor Studio, Bülent Mehmet, or as we all call him, Boo, because not everyone knows how to pronounce Bülent. Was it right?
Perfect.
Hi, Boo. How are you?
I'm very good, thanks.
Look, I haven't seen you since last year, I guess.
Yeah, time flies, doesn't it?
How is everything going? Tell me.
Well, I'm very busy, which is great. Last year was kind of up and down. This year started with a bang in January and has just continued.
It's really good. But the thing is, we'll talk about everything. We'll talk about acting. We'll talk about you being a DJ before. We'll talk about modeling as well. But let's start in the very beginning. Tell me, how did it all start for you? How you decided, you know what? I want to be an actor.
I never decided I wanted to be an actor.
Okay.
Right?
You just fell on it.
Almost.
Yeah.
I'm not one of these people who did a normal job for decades and really wanted to be an actor. It just wasn't on my mind. And I'm really grateful for that. I feel lucky because if I'd had the dilemma and the conflict that, is common where people want to do something, but they can't see a way through it, or you have the usual desire and need to earn a living and pay the bills. So it would have been difficult, but that wasn't the case with me. I did various things, and then I went to university, and then I fell into finance and accountancy. And I was an accountant for 26 years, which sounds crazy now, but time flies when you're doing interesting stuff. And I was actually doing interesting stuff, not the standard stuff.
Wait, what? Like accounting and interesting stuff. It sounds almost like we need to call authorities. No, but to be fair, like it's, I'm very bad with numbers, and accountancy is definitely not something I would ever do. But I can imagine that it could be interesting if your mind works this way.
No, it's something I never thought I would do. As I said, I did a few jobs and then decided to go to university rather than go to university straight from school. And I remember when we were nearly finished at university, one of my friends there said, "Oh, I think you'll be an accountant." And I said, "No way, there's no way, I'm not interested in it and I can't do it. It's too detailed and I just can't get my head around it." Anyway, 2 years later, I was doing on a graduate training course to be an accountant. Part of the reason was because I graduated in a recession, came out, no jobs, looked around for stuff to do. I found a job temporary job in finance, which I could do. I thought it would be temporary. One thing led to another, and then I'm on a 3-4 year training program to be an accountant. And then over the years, like I said, I did mostly project work rather than the general accountancy stuff. One of the things I really enjoyed, I don't know if you know Alexandra Palace, the venue in North London. Well, that was kind of partly privatized and it all went wrong. The place went bankrupt and the local authority I worked for took charge of it. And me and another guy were sent in to resurrect the business, essentially, just to get it back on its feet and create a business. And that was great. And one of my ideas was to have music at Ali Pali, so have big gigs, because they had huge space there. They've got a hall that holds 5,000 people, but previously they'd only been concentrating on weddings, so it was a wedding venue. But I thought it would be great for concerts, and that really took off. So that helped, that and the darts and the snooker. So it became an established place.
Nice. So it was your idea.
Well, yeah.
All right.
It's crazy.
Right. And how did you get into DJing? Because I understand you did DJing before you kind of went into acting and modeling.
I got into DJing when I was 16. So I was at school in the sixth form, and at 15 I was going to gigs and clubs, dancing, music and stuff. And I was interested in playing music myself because I wanted to play the sort of music I was interested in. So me and a friend, my best friend, DJ partner, we got together, got some equipment, and we were playing parties, sixth form college discos and stuff. And one thing led to another, and we were then ended up DJing in nightclubs in the West End. So we created a scene that is now known as jazz fusion, jazz dance, Latin jazz. So it's kind of very fast, percussive, energetic jazz dance music, which wasn't really a thing then because it was more kind of disco soul. And it became quite a big kind of underground scene, but a big underground scene.
Well, were you doing it during your accountancy year as well?
No, because, so I did the DJing. We played, one of the big clubs we set up was at the Electric Ballroom. And after I left, there was another DJ, and then there was Giles Peterson, who you might know on the BBC. So he came in, and he actually says that me and my DJ partner were one of his influences. So that was amazing.
Nice.
So started DJing at 16. I retired in my mid-20s because I thought there's no future in this. Not that I was trying to make a career out of it. It really was an obsession. I mean, I had a day job as well to pay for records and stuff because everything was expensive. You actually had to buy music. And it was great for a few years. But then the business wasn't very nice. I mean, the whole nightclub scene was pretty seedy and dodgy in London, in the West End. It was run by gangsters. It was like a crazy thing. So I really got tired of the business side of it, although I loved the music. And one night on a whim, I just said, I've had enough of this. And I did a few more things, but then really I was retired, left the scene completely, got a normal job, worked for Hackney Libraries, which sounds crazy. I saw lots of people who went to university and I thought, do you know what? I could do that. These people aren't geniuses, I realised. And
but most people aren't.
I know. I had this crazy idea that I was interested in economics. I had this idea that I would go to the London School of Economics, which sounded a bit crazy at the time because my A-levels weren't that good at all. I was too busy out clubbing every night to be concentrating on that. But I went back to college, did some more exams, and I got into the LSE, which was fantastic. And I was an accountant for 26 years. After 26 years, I'd had enough, left. Didn't really have any big plans. I was still doing some stuff I was involved in property and finance. But I saw something on TV, on the news about Identity School of Acting, about how they audition and what the place
What year was it?
This would have been 2017. So nearly 7 years ago.
Yeah.
And it looked really interesting. But what really caught my attention was that unlike other acting schools, they didn't expect people to be a half-trained actor. They just have a group audition. So I thought, you know what? That sounds like fun. I'll give it a go. Doesn't really matter what happens because no one knows me there. And I really enjoyed it. And I thought, you know what? That wasn't really terrible, you know.
But yeah, so that was the very first thing ever that you ever did in acting.
Yes. Never been to an acting class. Never even thought about acting. So just on a whim. And then surprisingly, I got in. Well, it was surprising to me.
Yeah.
So I started, and this is how crazy it was. I didn't even own a pair of sweatpants type thing because that wasn't me. I had like running shorts and long running things because I've always done some running for exercise and that sort of thing. So this casual, you know, sitting on the floor with your legs crossed thing. So I started in a class, 12 people, foundation level, identity. And it was crazy. I mean, every week, every class, I was doing stuff I'd never done before. And that first term,
I'll kind of, I think I did identity the same, like in 2017. And it was something so completely new for me because I did a couple of classes before I went to identity. So I did a couple of classes in 2016. But just as you, like I never thought about acting before, but then suddenly there was like ding in my head, like, whoa, I want to do acting. And then there was another voice in my head, like, you acting? You stupid? You stupid! No one will want to watch you. And fuck you! I'm going to do the acting classes, and it just grabs you completely, and you can't get away.
No, absolutely. It took over my life. I remember having dinner with a friend, that I'd known since I was 14, and he was surprised and said, how are you finding this acting lark? So I said, well, every week I keep thinking I'm going to fall flat on my face. But I just keep going.
Yeah.
And he said something to me which surprised me. You really go for it and, you make it work. And if you're going to do something, then obviously you've got to try and do it as well as you can. Otherwise, there's no point. I mean,
especially
we're not forced to do. Yeah, I mean, we're not forced to do anything. Even most jobs, people make some sort of choice, even if they think, "Oh, I don't like this." You're still choosing to do it, so you may as well do it.
I mean, to a degree, like I've heard I read about this. That there is this theory that we actually don't have a free will. So what it means is like you kind of always have a vision of a choice, but in general, like our all our decisions are being programmed by our previous experience and some inner outer circumstances. So if you have, for example, choice A and B, and you choose B, you have reasons for it. If you have reasons to choose B, there was never a choice. So everything that happens and every your decision is not even like completely your decision. It's just you've been programmed to do that because, for example, once when you were young, the ball hit you in the head and you never played football after that. Or you need to move from this house to another house because it's just shitty now and there is like dodgy people outside all the time, So it's kind of a choice to move, But at the same time, there are reasons, so it's not really chance. But anyways, let's not get too deep into this, because if you kind of accept this thinking, it becomes very scary. Like, what do you want to tell me I'm a passenger in my body and I don't really even make any decisions? Anyways, yeah, you still you do have a choice, hopefully, to work hard or not. And there is, especially with acting, there is no point of doing acting without actually trying properly, because there is too much rejection even if you try hard.
But I never thought that even if you work hard, you'll get anywhere, because it's completely different to what I was previously used to, where there's a structure, there's a like a program you can go on, you do this level, that level, and well, like in most areas of life, through training and experience, you get jobs and then you get better jobs. Whereas I was fully aware that with acting, there's just no structure, no guarantees, no anything, because just the experience of seeing actors on TV and screen, sometimes they get into fantastic positions with jobs and then nothing happens for a few years or more.
Yeah, it happens a lot.
Yeah.
That's the thing. There are people who did like some huge films and then they couldn't find a job.
See, that's another reason why I could never have done it when I was young, because that kind of uncertainty would have been just so difficult for me, because my kind of background, I needed some sort of structure, stability, some sort of certainty and plan. So I could never have lived that life.
I do understand. Even right now, I'm going through this like short period of very huge uncertainty that I'm using only to kind of do this, to give it a push, and then I would still need to go back to, doing muggle jobs.
Yeah, I mean, I have huge respect for younger people that I know in acting who juggle all these things, have to make a living, but at the same time.
To a degree, I would say maybe when you're younger, it's easier because you have less responsibility. When you get older, when you have kids, you have more responsibilities. It's harder. When you're young, you can you can drink gasoline and sleep on the ground and you're fine.
Maybe where you're from, but no.
I'm kind of over. Well, no, I mean, it depends on the person, of course. It's true, definitely true. And then after, how did you find the identity in general?
I'm really grateful for identity. It's not perfect, but for somebody with no background to get an introduction into acting and experience all these different things, text, voice, movement.
I didn't have Andrew, so I don't know.
Right. Okay. Well, he really is. I mean, he was huge support and influence, not just on me, but everybody in the class. He would give 100% attention to everybody in the class, not just, people who were already good. And just his way of working, his passion, that was amazing. So that first term was amazing. Second term, not so good. The classes, they chop and change, they put people in random classes. I was in a group with only about a few people that I knew from the other group, and classes weren't so good, and in fact, by the end of it, I didn't want to leave, but I wanted to change, get into another class. And the only way you could do that was to leave and then re-audition, which seemed crazy. I decided I would do that. And then they said, oh no, if you do that, you have to wait 6 months or something before you re-audition. And the third term, again, was completely different.
How many terms did you do? 3, 4?
In total, I did 2 years.
Oh.
So the third term in the spring, It was a showcase term. So you had a teacher that would take you through to the showcase. And that teacher happened to be
Lee Lomas.
Yes.
Lee Lomas from Working Actors Studio. A lot of my guests, and including Lee Lomas, are from Working Actors Studio. And a lot of us also started in Identity, by the way.
Yeah. Well, that's another reason why, I'm grateful to Identity, because I met all these great people that I'm still in contact with. And I met Lee, because Lee worked there for a short while before setting up his own classes. So that third term, we were doing a showcase, which is a short play or a shortened play on stage. That would be my first time on stage. Lee decided we would be doing sexual perversity in Chicago.
One of his favorites.
One of his favorites, and David Mamet, of course, one of his favorites. Now, I knew he had to cut half the scenes to make it fit to about 45 minutes.
How big was the group?
The group was about, I can't remember, 14, 15, something like that. And so I'd read the play, and the next class, he was going to assign scenes to people. And the person I was sitting next to, I said to him, look, not going to do scene 15. Just as I said that, he said, Boo and Resh, can you do scene 15?
How you were in the same group with Resh as well?
Yes,
from
Resh was in that.
Oh, Resh. I need to invite Resh to the podcast as well.
And I couldn't believe that, because anybody who knows the play, or if you don't, look up scene 15. Scene 15 is difficult, I think, for anybody, but especially for beginners. It's a bedroom scene. Two people in the bedroom talking intimate stuff, which when we did it on stage at the Cockpit Theatre in the round, there was probably 250 people, something like that. Yeah. During that scene, the audience took a sharp intake of breath, like it was the language. Yeah. Nice. So me and Resh had to do this. So we both, when Lee said, Boo and Resh, we both kind of looked up wide-eyed, and Lee said, is that all right? And we're like, yeah, okay. And but Resh was absolutely fantastic and amazing. And I was really lucky to have her as a scene partner for this.
Oh, no, Resh is wonderful. Yeah. I really like. I every time when I get a chance to work with Resh, because we did a scene in Waving at Strangers.
Yes,
pilot.
I remember.
And we had a scene and every time when I'm kind of rewatching now this scene from time to time, when I'm thinking do I need to put more of it in my show or not? I don't really like what I'm doing, but I love what she's doing.
Yeah, that's great. So we did you did the showcase, and for my first time on stage, that was amazing. I stayed with Identity after the summer. It weren't so great, but I was then thinking about trying to get credits to get onto Spotlight. So I just kept going with that and started to get a few jobs, independent films and stuff. And at the same time, Lee had started his classes. Yeah. So I started going to his classes, not right at the beginning. I think I joined about 8 months after he started. I became aware of his classes.
I don't. Because I started in the very beginning when he started, and I remember you joining a little bit later, and I think Resh joined a bit later as well.
Yeah, she came a little while after me. She follows me everywhere,
I know. Well, good for her. I remember we were doing scenes long time ago. I'm not sure if I have all the kind of videos from the scenes from the class, but I remember we did it almost in the kind of very beginning-ish. For me, it's been 6 years now.
No, I remember you. You're one of the OGs there in Lee's class. And when I came in, I was really intimidated. Not because people were intimidated, but because of the level. I mean, in Identity, I was foundation level. And I come in to your class, Lee's class.
Oh, well, you guys. I remember when I started Lee's classes, I wasn't great. I mean, it's not like I'm saying I'm great right now, which I am, but no. But the thing is, like, I do know that I grew a lot as an actor since I started lead class. Well, hopefully in 6 years you would grow.
Yeah.
But I remember I was watching some of the videos. I was cleaning my phone storage, and I was like, oh wow, I have some videos from like basically 6 years ago, like, well, 5.5 years ago. Like, I gotta watch some of those. And some were fine, but some were like, oh my God, this is so bad.
No,
I thought it was all right back then.
I can't even watch those videos, but I do know how quickly those classes and Lee got me to level up.
No, and to be fair, honestly, I think Lee was always a good teacher. I always loved going to his classes, but I think now, like 6 years later, after working, like in Identity for a little bit and then working with us for 6 years, I think he also grew because now he knows even more how to start with people who kind of, like even talking with your own voice. Like, I think he wasn't concentrating on this as much like 5 years ago as now, when he asks people, just don't put on the acting voice, just talk to me as you. And I think he was talking about it before, but not as much as now, especially, with new people. And I know that for me as well, very often, like, I myself, especially when I don't train for a little bit, like when you're getting rusty, like when you start doing this scene, you kind of realize yourself, like, that's not my voice. That's not how I speak in real life. Why do I do this when I'm, So I think he grew as a teacher as well a lot.
Oh, yeah. But I learned so much from Lee. Identity got me started in acting. So that was essential and I'm really grateful for. But it was Lee who made me an actor.
Yeah.
And I'm reasonably confident enough to call myself an actor only because people pay me to act, right? For a long time.
Lucky duck.
Yeah. For a long time, when people would ask me about acting, I would say, I'm doing acting training. Not even I'm training to be an actor. I'm doing acting training. I wouldn't call myself an actor until I needed more validation from other.
I still do need more validation, because when you have, especially last year, just a few auditions in the very beginning of the year and then nothing, and then one job. It was a good job. It was just one line. It was one job in a big series, but that's not not the kind of acting dream. And then it's very hard to kind of tell people I'm an actor when I only act in a class.
No, you know what? I've learned that actually what you do in Lee's class defines you as an actor, because the hardest stuff I've done and the best stuff I've done has been in Lee's class.
Yeah.
Either in Lee's class or in Lee's showcases that we did.
Yeah.
Definitely. I've done better work and harder work in Lee's classes than I've done actual jobs where I've been paid.
Absolutely, yeah, because a lot of the people in the class, most people in the class, and most actors just in general, it's people who are not really that established, who can't choose like the biggest or like most interesting projects. You get a line, you get 3 lines, you get 2 lines, you're delivering a pizza, you're doing like whatever, like you take the job, and that's not the most complicated or challenging work that you can do. And in a class where we do tackle sometimes very complex scenes, where even like sometimes, because we all kind of have to a degree like casting type. And let's be honest, I would never play, a member of a royal family in Great Britain. But in class, sometimes I need to do that, and it's challenging itself, and also like emotional part of this role is also challenging. So yeah, for sure, like with the stuff that we do in class. And strangely, I don't know why, I don't know if you've noticed that or not, but I noticed that so many times in class, even though I know everyone is friendly and everyone wants me to do well, and Lee is there not to judge me. Well, to a degree, of course, he needs to give me some notes, but like, I'm more nervous in class than I was in actual jobs that I did.
That's right.
Because jobs that you do, like, it actually matters because it will be in the film, hopefully. Sometimes you've been cut from the film or series, but like it kind of will end up there. When in class is just training, and you're more nervous in class.
Yeah, I mean, the training is so useful. It's not just about kind of class exercises, because I'm finding, even with this modeling blog I do, it really helps. Things like movement and actions and I mean, some people find it difficult just walking across the room. I know I did. But now I feel a lot more natural when I'm doing some of that stuff. And I find when I'm on set for modeling, it's often not just stand there and pose. It's be a certain persona or a character, or go through a certain scene. You're in a situation, there's a certain theme to it, and they ask you to do stuff, and the directors seem to be pleased with what I'm able to do quite quickly, because I've learned through Lee to take notes, take direction. Whereas I see some other people struggle because they haven't had the same training. So I think they say a lot that one of the actual qualities of a good professional actor is not just being natural in the scene, but also like taking directions and being able to apply these directions straight away. Because it's all right if you can, like, it's great if you can spend like 3 days a week to prepare for something, and then when someone gives you directions, that's it. You can't do nothing with it. And the professional actor, like, straight away, you just give him some directions and they can apply it. But one thing I was thinking as well a lot, like, you know, with identity, coming back to identity, there were a lot of classes that you kind of don't really need, you know, because how often in your acting career you would need this skill, like, well, now be a tree and now be a wind or whatever. Because, like, I remember we had those classes like movement and all this stuff, and they like just do whatever and you just move, and like, well, you would never do this in actual real acting, you know, in film. Well, probably not ever. But one of the things that it actually gives you is kind of freedom. Like, it kind of, when you do a lot of this like ridiculous shit in classes, and you do a lot of those like different things, it kind of opens you up and you're just like less kind of constrained, and then you can go back to, you know, simple dialogue. So I would like, for me, the same. I think identity was like, I wasn't happy with everything in identity. I spent a year there, or 3 terms, I don't remember, but I am grateful to this. But then kind of least class now for me is the best, I would say. Working Actor Studio is my home. All right. So you're working with Working Actor Studio like also almost like 5 years. And you're assigned with Working Actors Studio agency, no? Well, that was 2 years ago. Yeah. I'd got to the position where I'd got the credits I needed to get onto Spotlight, because it used to be a lot more difficult. You had to get certain credits at a certain level, and lots of work didn't count. But somehow I managed to get the right credits, finally got onto Spotlight. And I was thinking about approaching agents, because I felt I was just about ready. And just at that time, Lee set up the agency, which was a great idea, by the way. And he approached me to join, and I was very grateful for that. Yeah. And I felt very lucky, because I had thought about, if I approach agents and if maybe somebody's interested in taking me on, how would I know whether I'd get on with the person and stuff like that?
And they also they don't really know you.
Yes. Whereas with Lee, he knows me, and Lee and Amanda, who obviously runs the agency, they both know me. both seen me in class, both worked with me in class. So I thought that was a great advantage and just made me feel a lot more comfortable. And also I was comfortable to be able to say, look, this is the sort of work that I want to do, but these other things I'm not interested in. Because I thought with agents, they'd probably just push you out to everything and anything. But yeah, it's really good to be with.
I think it depends on the agent, because I did a podcast episode with my agent as well, with Nicole from my agency, from Fiona Cross Management. And she actually said that, like, no, we do talk to our actors about what they don't want to do, what is not for them, and it's for them to decide, and we would never kind of push them into doing something they don't want. But again, yeah, I think it's a sign of a bad agent if they push you too much to do something you don't want. But again, like, if you decided you don't want to do anything apart from being, just like, I will only do auditions for the lead roles in major films, then you know what? Yeah, maybe it's not the agent's fault. Yeah. And how's it going with the agency?
Absolutely fantastic.
Busy?
Right from the beginning, Amanda was getting me auditions, self-tapes for the sort of stuff that I really wanted to do.
Which is what? What do you want to do?
Well, same as anybody else, I suppose, in terms of screen, feature films, TV series, that sort of thing. And right from the beginning, I was getting auditions for, Netflix, Amazon stuff, which was, to me, it was just amazing. I was also getting commercial stuff, which I was surprised at, because although when I was at Identity, after the second showcase, their commercial agency approached me, and I thought, what's the point in that? I'm not commercial. I wouldn't be in demand for commercial stuff. That's a waste of time. Anyway, they didn't take me on because I wasn't on Spotlight. But before I signed with Working Actors Agency, I'd had a few auditions for commercials just through, I was on Mandy and stuff.
Yeah.
And on one of them, I was down to the final two for quite a big commercial, but then I didn't get it and I was COVID cover. So I was surprised at that. Anyway, with the agency, I was getting maybe 3 auditions every month, like regularly, and 2 were commercials and 1 would be like a feature film. But this was like high-end feature film stuff, small roles, but in great productions.
Yeah. Nice.
So that was going really well. The other thing that happened 2 years ago, at the same time as being taken on by Working Actors Agency, was I got taken on by a model agency. I mean, that was just a whole other story, which was a bit crazy.
We'll talk about that. So about modeling. Now when you started this conversation, I would start this conversation anyways, but you suddenly have big success with modeling. You're doing catwalk shows. You were in Vogue, right?
Yeah, Vogue Online.
Yeah. Well, it's Vogue. Tell me, how did it start? How are you finding the experience?
Okay, that was a crazy one. Just over 2 years ago, I got an email from a casting director saying, would you like to come along for this casting for a modelling job? And I thought, modelling? Why is somebody contact, random person?
How did they find you?
Through an acting, I think maybe either Mandy or backstage, because I wasn't, Anyway, so I got this email. The email was sent like at midnight on Saturday night. I saw it in the morning. So in the morning, I opened up this email and it says, come for this audition. I checked out the details in this email and it was all legit. And the designer was Martine Rose, who I'd never heard of because I'm not a fashionista. But I looked her up and she's like, crazy. She makes custom clothes for Rihanna and Drake and stuff like that.
All right.
And so I thought, got nothing to lose. It was local, actually, a couple of stops on the train. So I went along to this casting and booked a 3-day job.
What was the casting like?
The casting was, I found out it was unusual because you turn up and they actually get you to try on the clothes that they're going to be showing. And the clothes that they were showing were for Martine Rose's new lookbook. See, I know all the terms now. Lookbook in modelling is like their new brochure, new season brochure thing. And so they got me to try on a few outfits. They must have liked what I looked like or whatever they wanted from it. And I was booked for a 3-day job from like the next day. So if you think acting is like lastminute.com in terms of auditions and bookings.
Commercials mostly, I think.
Yeah, well, that's right. Modelling is even more so.
Really?
Yeah. Like,
so in 20 minutes.
No.
We expect you in 20 minutes, come on. And lose some weight.
The other funny thing is I have this casting Sunday morning. Saturday night, I'd had a kebab and fish and chips. Not just the kebab and fish and chips. What made me laugh, I mean, I'm not a model. And it's just a funny idea. It's not really model's diet, but
All right, so that's how it began.
So that's how it began. And it was 3 days. Each day they had a different photographer. One of them, French photographer called Camille Viver. She was amazing. And one of the pictures she took of me got featured in Vogue Online as part of Martine Rose's new collection. And she made me look, I don't know, interesting, I suppose. What people keep
First of
saying.
all, don't say this. You do look interesting. You don't need a photographer. No, I mean, like, you need a good photographer to show this, but you have an interesting look for sure. Yeah.
Anyway, I also then, soon after, got approached by a different casting director for a magazine job. This was a magazine called Port Magazine, and it was the clothes they were using were Louis Vuitton and Valentino, which again was amazing. And at the same time, my modelling agent, my now modelling agent, saw the pictures from Martine Rose and invited me along for a test shoot, which again, I was surprised at. Let me just say, I've never ever had any ambition or even thoughts about modelling. Just not something that was on my mind at all. So I was really surprised by people approaching me, but also, I don't know, interested and excited.
No, of course. I mean, like, look, it's an interesting thing to do, especially when, like, people just invite you and you do that and people say that you're doing a good job. Like, of course I would enjoy that. No one asked me though.
The thing about acting as well is that people see things, I've learned that people see things in you that you don't see in yourself. And that's what I've learned, through acting, to trust other people's view of you, not just your own long-held views about yourself.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean for sure. It's just you need to get used to the thought that you need to trust other people. It takes time.
Well, yeah, I didn't. People just kept saying nice things to me because actors are very nice and they say nice things to you. But I just, didn't take any notice. I'm not good at taking compliments. I just kind of ignore it. If people say something to me that I'm not expecting, whether it's positive or negative, my usual reaction is just to pretend it didn't happen.
Yeah.
So anyway, acting agent did this test shoot and he said he'd take me on a trial basis. And I think what he did is send round my test shots to his contacts, casting directors and people, and ask them whether they'd be interested potentially in jobs. And then he came back and said, I'll sign you for a year. And then he got me a magazine job, GQ China, which was a crazy thing. And then the second job he got me, I was it was just before Lee's class. So we were in prep before going into Lee's class one evening. And I got a call from modelling agent saying, would you be available? Thing I learned about modelling. Before submitting you for stuff, they always check your availability, whether you're available. So it doesn't mean they've got you a job.
Yeah.
It means casting director's interested in you. Before they put you forward for the client, they're going to make sure that you're available in case you get picked. So anyway, checking my availability, which is, this is Monday night, are you available to go to Milan on Thursday? And I'm like, what? Fashion show.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is crazy. Are you sure? I confirmed that I hadn't got a job. They just wanted to put me forward. So I said, yeah, all right. No. I asked about flight times and stuff, Mr. Logistics.
Yeah.
Somebody potentially offers, and that's just the way, I think. Anyway, so I went into the class and I told classmates about this. And honestly, people were more excited than I was about this.
All right, well, that's what happens in class.
So that was amazing.
Yeah.
And a couple of days later, like on the Tuesday, I think late Tuesday, it was confirmed. You're going to Milan on Thursday for a fashion show on Saturday night.
That was
cool. Crazy.
Can you describe the fashion show? So basically, I'm guessing like if you're going there on Thursday, Friday, they spend like...
That's right. Yeah. Thursday traveling, Friday was the fitting. So you go to the studio where they're set up and they try different clothes on you, see what outfits you're going to wear. And lots of things I didn't realise, I didn't know about this business. I had no involvement. Was that each show has a lot of models. So they'll have like between 30 and 40 models in a show. Right, did the fitting on the Friday. The Saturday, got the show. I thought everything was in one building, but of course it's not. The venues are lots of different venues around town. And this particular venue was an old disused multi-story car park. So it's a massive space with no pillars. So it's huge square floor of a building where they used to park cars. And I'd guess it was about, each side was about 40, 50 meters, four-sided.
Yeah.
And on the day, there was hair and makeup and clothes. Also, it was crazy. Milan, in the summer, 37 degrees.
Oh my God.
So, but there's nothing you can do. It's just, embrace the heat.
I don't know. So embrace sweating when you're a model?
Well, that's the thing. And also when we had the rehearsal, it wasn't even a full dress rehearsal because of the heat. They didn't want to put the clothes on you. So you didn't have the clothes on, you just had your own clothes on. And we did this rehearsal where they showed you where to walk and you had to hit the marks and about the speed of the walk and so on. And that was the only rehearsal I had.
So did you have to go through like all this perimeter? Like how long was the actual walk?
Well, as I said, it was about 40, 50 meters each side. And
that's a little walking.
All four sides, yeah. But what I didn't realise was that with the shows, you do it twice. And what you see on TV is the second time where the models are quite close together. So there's only about 2 or 3 meters between the models. But that's the second walk where it's just the finale. The first walk is where there's a huge gap between each model so the audience can see properly what the outfits are. And for some reason, I was quite calm about all this until about half hour before the show when it kind of hit me what I was doing.
For the first time in your life.
And of course, I didn't feel like a model. I mean, catwalk models, in modeling, catwalk models are a different breed. They're like a breed apart. Yeah. They're like super tall, super skinny. Mm-hmm. And I'm not short, but I'm not tall. Compared to catwalk models, everybody's taller than me. Everybody's skinnier than me. When I say everybody's taller than me, including the women. This is crazy thing, but anyway, so.
How's the atmosphere like? Did you have a chance to talk to other models about everything?
Yeah, I got to chat to people, a few of the models staying at the same hotel as me. Mm-hmm. And it was a real mixture of people. There were Italians from different parts of Italy. Mm-hmm. There were people from Paris, from London. It's just a huge mixture of people.
This is
crazy.
Sounds very interesting. And so how many changes of clothes do you do?
Just the one. That's why they have 30 or 40 models. I think they had 35 in my show. The show was for Jordan Luca, by the way, who, again, I hadn't heard of because I'm not a fashionista. But again, a kind of, quite well-known niche, kind of really cool designers. I mean, a lot of their stuff, this was nearly 2 years ago now. A lot of their stuff, you see elements of it in more kind of mainstream stuff now. So that was really interesting. But the show itself was crazy. It started. And beforehand, nobody had said to me, this is what we want exactly. Because you're with an agent, I think they probably assume, you're a model. But I'd only been with the agent a couple of months and I'd never done a show. So I asked one of the people who looked after the show, how should I walk? So they watched me walk, gave me a few tips, and I kept practicing by myself. Because the other thing is, we're wearing these shoes, and they were like mules, so backless, brand new hard leather shoes, and they had Cuban heel. So you got to walk, and you got to walk fast. You got to hit your marks. Don't trip over everything and all this. And I was getting pretty nervous.
Yeah, I get because I can imagine because it's very weird for some reason. We know how to walk until the moment when we know that people are watching us. Yeah, it's like an acting class sometimes. So all of us did that. Suddenly you're what to do with my hands and my legs, and then suddenly, all right. I practiced some walking in a movement class in identity. I remember and somebody I'm fine. But then when you need to walk, if it's a catwalk and you also, wearing some uncomfortable shoes or anything, it can be very stressful. I can it sounds very silly. It does sound silly. I'm afraid to walk, but it is nerve-wracking.
Yeah, it is. I did a job the previous year. Acting thing. It was for a Doctor Who, the immersive experience. I wasn't in it, but I was in the promotional video for it, which was amazing, by the way. I got to wear a Time Lord costume.
Oh, nice.
I was a Time Lord, and I had 2 Gallifreyan guards with me. It was filmed near Tower Bridge, and when we were in the hotel getting dressed, the director and the producer came in. They were talking to us, and they were telling me a story about how sometimes actors don't know how to walk, and they'd had problems in a previous job with an actor who just couldn't walk naturally across the thing. And I was getting nervous because they hadn't auditioned me.
It's just seriously, walking. You decided to talk about it in front of me right now?
Yeah, exactly. The fashion show. Right, so it starts and you're sent in one by one. There's people with mics and earpieces and stuff deciding, because you can't see inside the hall. There's curtains and you can't see inside until you go through the curtains. So they're releasing people to go at a certain time. So you go. I go through the curtains, music's blaring, the place is full. There's 3 rows of benches. So there's people sitting on 3 rows of benches, just like you might see on the TV. And down the first side at the end, there's a huge bank of cameras, video cameras, still photographers, massive lights. So I'm heading towards the lights and I'm walking, trying to walk straight, hit the marks, walk at the right speed. And it felt like a film set. So in my head, I'm thinking, oh, this is just like a film set. Fine, just keep going. But then the other half of my brain kind of thinks, this isn't a film set. These people are not extras. This is real. And just before I panic, I then switch to concentrate on the job. And then when you get halfway round, you realize there's just you and one other person in the whole hall because they leave this huge gap between the models on the first run. And again, you can see through the kind of corner of your eye that it's only you and one other person in this huge hall. So all eyes are on you. And then before you know it, it's done. And then the second time round, because you're quite close to everybody else, there's only like a 3 meter gap between you. That's a lot easier.
This thing, like when you know that all eyes are on you, that can be very, very weird. Because I remember it's weird, but like the scariest thing I ever did in acting was an exercise that I did the first time when I think my very first class that I did, acting class, was CT Academy. And it was like acting for beginners, absolutely, like completely acting for beginners. And the scariest thing that we did, like we didn't do mostly we didn't do any acting. We did all these games that you start with, like with a lot of acting classes for beginners. But one of the things that we did, like it was I think 14 people in the class, and he says like, this will be the scariest thing that you do as an actor. So everyone just sits down, you get out of the room and just walk in and just stand in front of everyone. Just stand still. And everyone is looking at you. Everyone, 14 people, you're like on the edge of attention in this room. And the funny thing, I read the book before, Stanislavski book, before I went to the first acting class. And he described something like that. It's very similar exercise when you just sit and let people look at you. And I thought, like, I know everything about this exercise. I know why it's done. It's like, it's easy. But then I see people get out of the room and they walk in, and you see every little detail. Like someone is just like, you can see the tension in the arm. So like, and you just see everything. And when I did it, I was so nervous for some reason. When I just had to stand there, I couldn't stand still, like straight. I had to kind of adjust, my weight like on one leg. Like it was just very weird, and you just get so nervous. And you don't need to do anything. You don't need to. You just stand, and people look at you, and you get nervous. And we did, but like all of us, we did like 2 or 3 times in a row. Like second, third one is easier. And then when I had to do the same exercise in another class, I actually, like, it was way easier. And the funny thing now, like, I did theater, I did some films, I did some series, I did like stuff in the class a lot. But that, honestly, that was the scariest thing I ever had to do. Even though I didn't need to do anything, just stand in front of people. And he was right, it was, I think his name was Tim Evans, my first teacher in that class. And I can imagine that, like, when you're walking for the first time and it's a catwalk show and you never did that before, and you realize suddenly that everyone is looking at you, it's good that you went through. You got through it.
Yeah, it was certainly an experience. And Milan, catwalk, I mean... I can retire now.
I mean, first of all, like, at least you have like a checkbox, okay, like I did this on your wish list, and hopefully there will be more, but that's a really cool experience.
Yeah, I came back to class, my next class, Lee's class, and like everybody was excited because they'd seen the pictures and video and this. And they were all excited.
No, but that's the thing. Like, you never know what someone will see in you. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. And how is modeling now? Do you still do like modeling castings?
Yeah, I've had a lot of work. I've had a mixture of commercials through modeling, so it's always close. And it's been crazy busy. With the modeling, I did just this year. I did a thing for Lacoste in Berlin a couple of weeks ago. That was a crazy one because of personal reasons, I couldn't stay overnight. So I had to fly in, get the first flight in the morning, and then leave in the evening.
Really?
Do the whole thing. I mean, you go to Berlin and literally my feet didn't touch the pavement. So it was out the airport into a taxi to the location. And the location was really nice. And from the windows, I could see the river. But I didn't have the time or the opportunity to even walk across the road to the river. As soon as they finished the last part of the shoot, I was back in a taxi and back to... But with modelling, I've been to Berlin before, last summer.
Nice.
That was for a German magazine.
I'm guessing they're paying good money. Should be kind of...
The thing I've learned about modelling is it varies hugely. Some jobs that you think pay a lot are actually unpaid. Nobody realises that. And others that take the same amount of time and effort are paid really well. You know, like the same level as commercials. So
they also have
really
like buyouts and everything, modeling.
Yeah. See, that's what I mean. But a lot of the magazine stuff are what's called editorials. So even though they're top brands like Gucci, Valentino, Louis Vuitton, and so on, if it's not the paid adverts in the magazine, it's the editorial. So where somebody is writing a piece about this year's raincoats or something, and they feature these things, then that's an editorial and you don't get paid, which seems crazy. But the difference between that and unpaid acting work is that here, that builds your portfolio, and you need that. You can't just have posed shots. You need to have professional work as part of your portfolio, and that's what you get cast on. So that's really valuable. And secondly, you're guaranteed that this will be featured and it will be published.
People will see.
Yes.
Actually. Yeah.
Unlike with some unpaid or low paid acting work, the thing may never see the light of day, you know.
And sometimes it might be the case when like you wish they would. I was lucky enough, like the short films that I did like were good, but one of the very first films that I did that like helped me to get a credit for IMDb for Spotlight, but at the same time it was extremely cheap production. It was extremely cheesy, and I wish it wouldn't come out. So you never know. And here I'm guessing like if it's some kind of fashion magazine, even if it's editorial, like they do have really good professionals who do a good job. Those shots are really good.
Everybody is professional, usually top photographers, hair and makeup, and of course the clothes are always seem to be these top end fashion companies. So it's all good, and the pictures, well, I can't complain.
Professional model. You are a professional model. Boo.
I can't. I say to people, I do some modelling work. I can't say I'm a model.
I don't know. Your credits say different. Say different thing, because you did a show in Milan. Yeah.
Okay, that's crazy.
Center of fashion. That's some people say. Some people say it's Paris. I don't know, but I think Milan kind of it counts as one of the capitals of fashion. You did a lot of, you were in Vogue. You did a lot of shoots. You did a lot. So I think you are a model as well.
Okay.
Embrace it. Embrace it.
I was lucky enough this year to do a fashion shoot in Paris as well. It wasn't a show, it was for a magazine. It's an Italian magazine and they were shooting in Paris. So again, I went there for the day, but that was on Eurostar. So that was really super convenient. And that was an amazing shoot. And what I find with a lot of these shoots, as I said, it's not just standing around posing, there's a theme to it. And for this one, it was 1980s Italian TV. So they had, all these game show stuff and these dodgy politicians, Italian politicians. So that was the kind of theme. And and that was really amazing.
But what was it for?
It was for a magazine. It's an Italian magazine, comes out next month. And I'm really looking forward to that one because that was actually real fun. Can you describe to me just like how does it happen? For example, you having a photo shoot for, I don't know, for a collection of clothes. Like what's usually the process? It can take all day. It's usually booked all day and you might finish, after about six hours or something, or 7 hours. But I've done shoots where it was so well organized that they got the models in at different times and they'd organize the shots really carefully. So it was done in 2 or 3 hours. So I've done that as well. So it really varies. And in terms of what they want, the Lacoste thing that I did in Berlin, although that was still photography, it was, you weren't standing still. The photographer was taking shots as you were moving. And my role was, there's this guy whose name just popped out of my head. He's a well-known French-Iranian tennis player. He's on the senior circuit now and he plays doubles. And he's a really big character, really entertaining. People love the sort of comedy he puts into tennis playing. And that's the sort of persona they wanted. They got me because they think I looked a bit like him. But actually a friend of mine said, you don't look anything like him. I think I was in the right age bracket, so that probably worked. But for that, they asked me to do certain scenes. Like there was one scene where you're walking into the tennis stadium and there's paparazzi all around you. So they had extras being photographers and the photographer was taking a picture of the photographers, taking pictures of me as I was walking along and I'm interacting with the photographers. And there's another scene where I'm warming up behind the scenes before a tennis tournament with tennis racket and ball. And actually beforehand, often you don't know anything about the shoot. You just turn up and you find out what they're doing. And in this,
wait a second, how do you I'm guessing that's not like casting in cinema. It's not like they give you a scene that you read. You basically just like your agent just tells you like, we send them your shots and they want you.
Yes, that's it.
Right.
So they cast you from your portfolio and you get the location and the time. And usually you get it the night before. Like they might book you maybe 2 days in advance, sometimes only a day in advance. And you usually don't get the call sheet till the night before. So you know whether it's in London or somewhere else. But, it's just so last minute often. Anyway, so for this shoot, I knew it was for Lacoste, but I didn't know I'd have to pretend to be playing tennis and warming up. Luckily, I used to play tennis. Otherwise, I can imagine it would have looked a bit silly if I didn't know how to hold a racket or anything like that. Yeah.
You should understand that a lot of the stuff that we see, like how often did you watch some fight or boxing fight in the film and cringe because it's just like
exactly, yeah. So luckily,
no one cares.
Yeah, they don't care, but you feel silly if you.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
I mean, if you know that you look silly, then you look silly. But if you know that you look silly, that you probably already have more skills than someone else. So yeah, all right. But like you had to kind of like pretend to you warming up, and did you have to pretend you're playing?
Yeah, I had a racket and a ball. So it was like you were behind the scenes before the tennis tournament and you're warming up. So I was playing around with the ball and practicing my shots and stuff like that. And there were other scenes as well. So so you don't know what they're going to throw at you until you know you're there, which can be fun. But it also means that every single job is different.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got something that I've just booked today. I had, well, this was a weird one for modelling. It was through my modelling agent, but I did a self-tape for it. It's a whiskey commercial.
Ooh.
So I did a self-tape for it. And then they asked for another self-tape, almost the same instructions, but this time they said, can you do it in natural light outdoors? Never been asked for that before. Anyway, I did it. And then there was a casting. So a couple of days ago, I went to an in-person casting.
Yeah.
And this is, again, where the acting helps, where Lee's classes helped. So I walked into this casting and they had a table and a glass with some water in it. And they said, okay, can you sit at the table and pretend you're chatting with friends, you're telling them a funny story, and you pick up your glass, you have a drink, you react to the drink you've just had, which surprises you how nice the drink is, and then you carry on with your funny story. Go. Camera's rolling. So you're really put on the spot.
Yeah.
And it's like no rehearsals, just do that. So that's the take. And then they give you a direction to do something slightly different. Again, take. And you do this in 5 minutes and you're out of the room.
Yeah.
That's it. So that's what they're like.
Yeah, I know. Commercial casting sometimes it's just, I remember a couple of those. I just felt when I'm like, I'm out of the casting, you know, going back to work. And you started thinking like, why did I do that? Why didn't I do that? That like, I didn't even say the name of a brand or whatever, because sometimes it's just like, you need to improvise, and not always kind of because it's also commercial improvisation. You
know what happened yesterday? I had a casting at 10 yesterday, and they did the usual. They say, they get you to do a slate first. Tell us your name and the agent you're with. And the previous day, I had a casting for another commercial with Working Actors Agency. And I did the same thing there. Yesterday's one was with my modelling agent. And you know what? I stumbled over. I said my name, and then I couldn't think which
agency,
which agent is this job with?
Yeah.
And I stumbled over, which was just funny. What day of the week is it?
Yeah, well, you know what? Fingers crossed, because I'm happy that you're having so much, fun now. And so many
it's just
auditions.
Crazy this week since January. I did, so January, I did the commercial for Lufthansa, which was 1 week in Thailand and then nearly a week in Germany, in Frankfurt. And that was crazy because Thailand was like 38 degrees. Came back to London for 1 day and then out to Germany where it was snowing. So it was like -5.
And it's for the same commercial.
Same commercial.
They could have just take you straight to Germany.
Well, the flights didn't work. And
So for 1 day back home and then, all right. Well, wow. That sounds amazing. How much of that, so weekend in Thailand, how much time did you actually work?
Half a day for a fitting, half a day for the filming in Thailand. And then the rest of the week was 2 days traveling. There was a fitting and shoot day. There was a couple of days free.
Nice.
But I realized it's not for your benefit. they put in these down days to safeguard against things going wrong with flights and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah, because on the job I had in Germany, where it was snowing in Frankfurt, the Germans are super cautious. So flights were being cancelled all the time, in and out the airport. And one of the actors they needed couldn't come in on the scheduled flight. And they needed him that day. And he was rehearsing a play in Manchester. So they flew him from Manchester to Frankfurt by private jet.
Nice.
I know, that was crazy. And this guy is sitting on his private jet thinking, this is just like Succession.
Yeah, I made it. There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Nice. Well, look, let's talk about acting. Is there anyone who right now kind of, I don't know, like impresses you? Someone who kind of motivates you, like some actors who you look up to?
I think I look up to everybody who's actually acting, because it's such a hard thing to do, but it's also such a hard thing to get employed to do. Because as I've said before, the acting we do in class, in Lee's class, is just the best work I've done, or in his showcases. But for people to come along and give you a job and pay you, because it, you know, they'll see hundreds of people, if not thousands. So people who manage to get that, and I haven't got very many actual acting jobs. I mean, in commercials, you do acting, you definitely do, and the stuff that I've done. And in terms of feature films and TV series, I've come close a couple of times, and I've had some really good auditions, but not quite, landed one of those big roles. So I'm in awe of all people who manage to work professionally. But in terms of the well-known names, well, just the usual people, obviously the classics, Al Pacino and Robert De Niro, all those films. And then the next generation after that, would that be Matthew McConaughey and people like that? Absolutely amazing. Jennifer Lawrence, I mean, she's somebody that I'm just totally in awe of, because she didn't come through the acting schools or the acting programs, but in terms of defining somebody who is a natural, from what I understand, she is just totally amazing. So,
and what motivates you to move forward?
Well, normal life would be quite boring, wouldn't it, if you weren't doing acting? But I'm excited about what I do in acting class. So that on its own is fantastic. To be able to actually do jobs as well, that's, I feel hugely lucky with that. So why wouldn't I do it? I remember when I was at Identity and I'd really got into it, had kind of taken over my life. And my wife said to me, so you want to be an actor now? And I thought, well, I hadn't quite thought of it in those terms. It was like one step at a time. I'm doing acting training. I'm doing this theoretical thing of training and classes. I mean, people who do boxercise doesn't mean they want to have boxing matches. Yeah,
it's true.
So I kept kind of hiding behind that, and then taking each step, one step at a time. And then you've got an agent. And agents are putting you forward for professional jobs. So obviously you're going to be professional. You're going to be professional about it. And if you do get a job, then you're on set with everybody else who's a professional, all the crew, all the actors. And so you just carry on. And I'm just happy to go with the flow. Sometimes it gets a bit, because often you've got a lot going on or nothing going on. So, if I've got nothing going on for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, then it feels odd and it feels wrong. And then you might have a couple of weeks where you're really busy, and then it can be slightly overwhelming because of the way the industry works. People say, oh, penciled for this, or keep these dates free, and then you're having to kind of juggle with, what if this happens? What if that happens? Is there a clash here? And then often none of it happens. And other times there is I did the Coca-Cola Christmas commercial for Working Actors Agency last summer. And literally at the same time, I was booked for a magazine job in Berlin by my modeling agent. And they were like back to back, to the extent that they were trying to get me to travel from Germany to Bulgaria, which was the location for the Coca-Cola shoot, just straight off. But the flight times didn't work. So I went to Berlin, did the shoot, came back to London, came home for 4 hours, and then out to Bulgaria to do the Coca-Cola commercial.
4 hours, it's not even worth coming back.
I know, but they couldn't get me on a flight to go.
It sounds that you're having time of your life, man. Because honestly, being that busy all the time, and that's life in my eyes, it is kind of busy because you're doing something almost all the time, and if you don't, you do have a lot of auditions. So that's great, and that's leading me to my next question, because you did start acting and modeling and DJing, no. By the way, do you still DJ sometimes? Or no, not at all.
Well, I keep saying I'm retired from DJing.
Yeah.
Because, as I said, I retired in my early 20s, and then I got rediscovered when I was about 50, and I did a couple of festivals in France. I did a few gigs at the South Bank Centre. I did quite a lot of gigs around Shoreditch, and that was all fantastic. But now, again, I'm saying I'm retired, mainly because I've done, what I wanted to do and what I like doing with the DJing, and it's no longer new. So I'm not really pushing anything new there. So I tell people I'm retired, but sometimes people ask me to do something. I did a gig previous Christmas with Giles Peterson, which was great. But yeah, so the DJing's on the back burner because I have to concentrate on, the acting, which I really want to do because that's still very new to me. So
basically, acting and modeling, you started pretty late in life with all this stuff. Which sets a good example for people who ask, is it too late to do whatever? It's not. Unless you want to be a Formula One driver, then probably it is. But what would be your advice to people who want to start acting or modeling? Let's start with acting. Step by step, what would you say they should start with right now?
I would say go to some classes. Find some classes to do. If you're a complete beginner, then get into whatever class you can get into. Identity is a good place. Just maybe do one term there to get you exposed to the different parts of acting that you need to be aware of. That's a really good introduction. And then go to Lee's classes.
If you're in London, go to Working Actor Studio.
Well, Lee is going to start some online classes as well. So even if you're not in London, you'll be able to do his classes. But yeah, as soon as you can, get to Lee's classes. And that's the thing.
But just basically do some classes. Any acting classes for anything that will get you out of your bubble and gets into the room with people who kind of want to do the same thing.
Yeah, I would say expose yourself to the acting world through classes. And it's really good to do something intense, I think. So something that's maybe twice a week, or maybe some of these courses that are a whole week long, or 2 weeks long. You know, really just dive into it and see how you feel.
Move from there. Like, because again, maybe you'll discover it's not for you, or maybe you'll discover, you know what? Through that, I want to go to modeling.
No, I never thought that. But with the acting, you'd also find different teachers and their styles. And I mean, you know how many, schools of acting or theories of acting or methods of acting there are. And some will suit you and some won't. I mean, I know what doesn't suit me at all, which is the analysis heavy type of methods. You know, whether you're going to ask 7 questions or 9 questions and write an essay before you stand up. And that's strange because in normal life, I'm very analytical and measured. So I would be doing all that detailed work. But in acting, I just want to get up and give it a go, you know, because it doesn't work for me to do so much prep and analysis, you know, it just gets you in your head, which is the good thing about Lee's classes. You have to do the prep and there's a technique, but the technique is very simple, very short.
You can, like, it is simple and short, but it's also like, it's as any technique, like for it to become simple, you need to do it to understand it properly. But it is way simpler than a lot of different techniques. A lot of the method acting with like I live character, and if it works for someone, like, then great, of course. But for someone, I don't think it might be too much. So yeah, I agree. Practical aesthetics, if I'm not wrong, it's called based on Mehmet's book, Mehmet's technique. So basically, yeah, I think it's very practical. There is not a lot of mumbo jumbo in it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And how do you prepare for a role? What's your process of preparing for the role?
Just learn the lines and apply the technique. I mean, it's
true.
It sounds simple, but it is.
Yeah.
And then I find I need to do it with somebody. So until I get into class and I'm actually doing it with somebody, it's not really working. I mean, obviously you have to learn the lines yourself and you have to think about what the scene's about, but not writing essays about it. So you have some ideas, but until you get up on your feet and give it a go. I mean, in class yesterday, for instance, we did a scene. It's a short scene, but it's quite intense. So how can you prepare for an intense scene on your own? You can't. You can just learn the lines. You can't decide you're going to be shouty or angry or intense at this point in the script. It just doesn't work.
No, I mean, you can decide, but then it won't be real, probably. That's one of the things I agree. Like, one of your tasks, goals as an actor, you want to affect other person, and you need to be observant of how other person reacts when you're in a scene with them. So kind of like preparing yourself in advance of like, I will do this, means that you have no idea what the other person does. So in this case, I agree for me as well. Like it's hard. I can kind of prepare some intentions. I can think about like what I do want in a scene and learn the actual scene and think about the objective. But when I'm in a scene with a real person, everything can change completely. So I agree with you on this one. Yeah, it's hard. Like otherwise, if you prepare yourself for like, I will on this exact line, I will do this exact action, I will do this exact thing emotionally, then it's kind of like it's not real, not that kind of. It might work sometimes, but not most of the time, I think.
Yeah, the age thing, I tried not to think about it a lot, but obviously when you go to somewhere like Identity, most people are in their 20s. Some people are in their 30s, which is very different to me. But I don't know, I tried not to think about it. The funny thing is, in my first class, there was another guy who was slightly older than me. So that was unusual. But so there were 2 of us in that first class. and everybody else was in their 20s. One person was in their 30s. I found it really, really good, because previously my experience of interacting with people in their 20s would be my nieces and nephews and my wife's nieces and nephews, maybe some of them family members, or people I've worked with at work. But the relationship and the dynamic is different because you're the senior person. Mm-hmm. Whereas in class, you're all wearing the same clothes, the identity uniform. You're all sitting together, cross-legged on the floor. So it's kind of like you're on the same level. And it was really good to interact with people of a different generation, but of very different backgrounds as well. And I learned a lot and continue to learn from other people who on the surface are very different to me because they're much younger or they're from a very different background. And the other thing about the age thing is, obviously you're acting with people, or I'm acting with people usually a lot younger than me. And at first, when I was at Identity, that made me feel awkward, simply because I felt awkward anyway, with acting and so on. Mm-hmm. And usually you'd stand or sit in front of somebody like we are now and look at them in the eyes and talk. And I found that difficult. I would look down, I would look to the side, and it was hard. And then if I was acting with somebody young who was female, a woman, again, I'd feel awkward, because I'd feel awkward myself, but I'd also feel awkward thinking maybe she feels awkward. She's come to an acting class and she's in front of this older guy, maybe, that doesn't suit her. So I would feel doubly awkward. But I have to say that literally 99% of people I've been lucky to work with in classes and in jobs and everywhere else has been really nice to me, and they've seemed to be comfortable and okay, and that's really helped me.
Yeah, I would even say that the thing is, like, because I'm a bit younger than you, but at the same time, like, I'm older than a lot of people like that were like in Identity or in class, like in Working Actor Studio. But I don't think this difference in age really feels that much in those circumstances, because even though like we're older, we kind of, well, there's difference in age. Like we are in the kind of same position because all of us came there like to learn something that we are at the same kind of level-ish. So it kind of unifies us all. And yeah, it's I never, everyone is just like very friendly, and we're all on the same level, and everyone is very supportive. So yeah, it's one of the things that you need to remember. Like if you want to go to acting when you're a bit older than most people there, you will not kind of even notice that, and it's never too late. What is next for you? Is there anything in the pipeline?
I've got this shoot next week for this whiskey ad. Mm-hmm. Got a couple of auditions. I'm doing a self-tape this evening.
Nice.
This afternoon. So we'll see what happens. But in terms of longer term, like I said, I'm just going with the flow. Mm-hmm. It's not like having a 5-year plan. I'm definitely not that person. And it's been this year, the first 3 months of the year, has been just so busy. But I'm kind of conscious that that's not normal. It's not normal for me. Mm. And so I'm just going with the flow. And
well, fingers crossed with the auditions. Break the leg. Look, are you ready for Blitz round?
What's that?
Blitz round. Quick lightning questions, quick answers.
Oh no.
Ready? Texting or talking?
Talking.
Cats or dogs?
Cats.
Yeah.
Nothing against dogs,
Yeah.
but cats.
Your one guilty pleasure?
You know what? I'm old enough not to be guilty about pleasures.
Nice.
I mean, you know, if you like singing along to ABBA
Yeah.
or Belinda
Well,
Carlisle,
if you don't like to sing along to ABBA, then damn you. All right.
No, I mean, when I was young, you know, teenager and DJing, all that, when it started, you're conscious of being cool and people think you're cool because you're doing certain things that are unusual and all that. But you grow older, who cares about cool? You know, you just do what you want to do.
I don't know. I've never been cool, so I don't know. What makes you laugh?
Jim Carrey.
All right.
Liar, liar.
Yeah, I remember that one. All right. What makes you angry?
If people are horrible to other people for no good reason, not that there is a good reason, but I just don't understand why sometimes some people are not nice.
Do you have any nicknames apart from Boo?
No, that's it. Boo. I've been called Boo since I was at
Well,
school.
to be fair, it's the best one.
Yeah.
What dish do you cook best?
I haven't got a wide repertoire, but one thing I do is this. It's kind of like an omelette, so it's lots of eggs, but it's with asparagus. So not the asparagus that you boil, the big thick things, the thin asparagus. So you chop it up, eggs, tomatoes, salt and pepper, obviously, and mint, dried mint, or fresh mint if you've got it.
Nice.
And you whip it up into like an omelette type thing.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah.
Now I want to eat something. Your favorite character in any fictional story, like book, video games, screen?
So many. I can't choose, sorry.
All right, it's fine. Because to be fair, like now I was thinking about like if anyone would ask me, I'm not sure what I would say because there's too many. All right. Well, in this one, you need to choose. You have to choose Star Wars or The Lord of the Rings.
Neither. I've not seen either of them. I watched maybe 10 minutes of Star Wars, one of the films. Although I like science fiction, I could never get into Star Wars. So, sorry, Star Wars is a no. Star Trek. Yes.
Okay. We have a new option now.
Yeah.
All right. Any unknown or unexpected talents that you have?
People are surprised. My neighbour, she knows that I gave up my day job a few years ago. So she thinks I'm retired. And she says to me, oh, you've got time to do so-and-so because you're retired. And I said to her, yeah, I'm not retired completely. I still work. And she says, oh, what job have you got? So just to wind her up, just to tease her, I say, I'm an actor and international model. And she looks at me all puzzled and she doesn't know whether I'm joking because I can't be serious. Surely you can't be serious. So in terms of unexpected talents, anything I'm doing is unexpected to anybody that doesn't know me. So
all right.
That
sounds fair enough. I mean, like you did a lot of interesting stuff. How often do you cry?
Do you know what? That's something that's lacking in that I could say almost never, which I know is not good, but
I don't know.
You know.
I'm not a psychologist or psychiatrist or whatever. I have no idea.
So
no.
Very, very, very rarely.
How can people reach you if they want to work with you?
Through my agent.
Through which one? You have two agents.
Well, I assume it was for acting, but if it's for acting, then it's Amanda at Working Actors Agency, of course. And anything to do with modelling, that's with X Direction.
And if anyone would think like, I want this guy to DJ on, I don't know, this event.
I don't know, because again, I don't see myself as a DJ because I didn't get into DJing because I wanted to be a DJ.
Yeah.
It was a certain kind of music that I wanted to play. So that's the thing. So unless people know me already, they probably wouldn't. They wouldn't know the genres of music that I'm interested in, and therefore don't contact me to do your birthday party, you know,
or your wedding or whatever.
Your wedding, because
not that kind of
huge respect for DJs that can do that, but I can't do that.
All right. And the very last thing that I asked you yesterday, I hope you read my message, is to prepare one cool thing. Is something that you really like and you think our viewers might like too.
Marvin Gaye's album, What's Going On? Just amazing album, made late 60s, and yet it's still relevant. Read the message in there, messages in his music. Generally, because from when I was young, I was interested in music with a message. So I was interested in punk and roots reggae before I got into jazz and funk.
What genre of music is it?
Marvin Gaye's soul music, but it's soul music with a message. So it was after he'd come out, he was still with Motown, but out of the kind of Motown happy clappy stuff, he then got into this. He was commenting on the times that were happening, and Motown didn't want to release the album because they thought it was too political. No one's going to be interested. And of course, it was the best-selling thing since sliced bread.
Nice.
The other thing I can recommend, I mean, there's no point in me recommending things like Sopranos.
Why not?
Succession, which everybody knows about. Yeah. But there's a series that I came across, a police series called The Shield. It's on one or two of the streaming services. It was made 20 years ago, but it's really, really good. It's like The Wire, but it's based in Los Angeles. And actually, I think it was filmed and produced round about the same time as when The Wire started. But it's kind of slipped under the wire. That's a pun. Yeah. Nice. So I don't, definitely not as many people know about The Shield as people who know about The Wire, but it's a really good series. Nice. I mean, if you watch the first episode 1, series 1, you'll be hooked.
All right. I'll give it a go, and I hope you will too. I think that we talked for almost 2 hours.
Wow.
And you said that there is no way, why me? Because you're interesting. Thank you so much, bro. And I hope I'll see you on the big screen soon, or in magazines, or everywhere. All right. Thank you. Bye, guys.
Thank you. Bye.